All right. Hello and welcome to our podcast.
Yes, we apologize about our large hiatus. We recently moved, as you can tell from the new layout.
But I think I like this layout. What do you think?
Yes, this is quite wonderful.
Kind of feels like, why, hello, welcome to our podcast with us.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have the fire going sometime.
You can see the animals better.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is Cupcakes and Hot Takes with John and Maral. I'm Maral.
And I'm John. This is episode 7 of season 1.
Today we're reviewing Schindler's List by Steven Spielberg.
Yes. Sorry, it's been a while. I'm a little bit out of the groove here.
Yeah, we have our laydown and our schedule, so we got to get back into it.
Yeah, so.
You want to do the intro?
Yeah, I'll do the intro. Schindler's List. You know what?
Do you want me to do the intro?
No, it's fine. Sorry.
Okay.
Schindler's List. Very iconic movie. Released on November 30th, 1993. That was the initial release date, but it was released to the rest of the U.S. on December 15th of the same year. Directed by Steven Spielberg, as Maral said. This movie had a $22 million budget and made $322.2 million in the box office. So almost.
That was international, actually.
Yeah.
You forgot to add in domestic, which was
Oh.
another $93 million.
Yeah, but overall it made over $300+ million.
Yeah, pretty not too shabby.
Yeah. And it is actually adapted from a novel called Schindler's Ark by Thomas Keneally. Sorry. It's based off of a true story of Oskar Schindler. Yeah. So if you want to go into synopsis, make sure no spoilers.
That's right, no spoilers. Okay, let me try my best. I believe the story starts out with Oskar Schindler, who is definitely a member of the Nazi Party during World War II. He's in Germany, and he's, hobnobbing with the Nazis. He's not necessarily a Nazi, but more of like a greasy kind of dude, who's just here to make a profit off of war, a war profiteering kind of person. And so that's why he gets in close with them. And he moves to, is it Poland?
I don't remember. Maybe Austria?
He moves to Eastern Europe, where they have a ghetto, a Jewish ghetto, and he starts using Jewish laborers as free labor for his war profiteering efforts. It starts with like pots and stuff like that, and it kind of is the story of like his moral journey through the Holocaust. Would you say that's a valid synopsis?
I mean, it's a little
Too much?
extensive, but yeah, it's a guy named Oskar Schindler who's a Nazi, but through it all, he tries his best to save Jewish lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's based on a true story. But yeah, so what are your initial thoughts, or on this movie? What would you give it as a grade?
As a grade, I think I'll give it a 9.2 cupcakes out of 10.
9.2 cupcakes out of 10?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty close, A minus, 9.1 cupcakes out of 10.
Oh yeah, super close.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes actually gives it a 98%, a 9.8.
Which is worse than Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 3.
3, sorry.
Um,
It's just something we like to compare everything to,
Yeah.
This was the first Holocaust film I believe I've seen in my life. What about you?
Yeah, I remember seeing it many years ago.
Yeah, I saw it as a wee lass.
Yeah, granted, I didn't really understand what was going on for the most part. Certain scenes really stuck out to me as a kid. One of the scenes that really stuck out for me that I remember was when the guy was making the hinges, and the Nazi was watching him, and then he's like, "Why is there so few hinges in the box if you can move that fast?" and he takes him out and kills him.
Mm.
But yeah, so like I said, overall, great movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna watch it and you haven't seen it, obviously it's a Holocaust movie. There's gonna be a lot of trigger warnings, a lot of traumatic things happening. Go into it knowing what it is, If I had to say, I'd probably say this is probably the Holocaust movie that everyone's seen. So if you're gonna watch one, I guess this is it.
Yeah, this will definitely be the most iconic, most famous.
I'm not gonna say it's the best story, but it's probably the most well crafted Holocaust film.
Yes, I agree. What have I seen?
There's Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Pianist.
The Pianist.
Life is Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That's also on the list, I believe.
I like that one more as a film, Holocaust film, but we'll go into why later. But yeah, there's a lot of films now, but when you look into the context of the whole thing, you have to realize this is the first World War II Holocaust side of the war movie that's ever made a profit. Before this, it was just kind of something that people didn't really want to watch, obviously. It was hard to watch. So this is the first time that it's been made in a way that's consumable, I think is a good word for it. So, yeah, if you're going to watch one, make it Schindler's List.
Yes, I agree. Just real quick, speaking of profits, just a little bit of trivia. I don't know if you call it trivia or not, but Steven Spielberg refused to receive any money for this film.
He called it blood money.
Yeah, he called it blood money, and any money that he made or makes still, he donates it to the Shoah Foundation. And the Shoah Foundation is a foundation, that gets records and preserved written and videotaped testimonies from survivors of genocide worldwide, including the Holocaust. So if you would like to donate to that cause, there will be a link below in the description where you can find the Shoah Foundation.
I believe currently they have over 40,000 people's testimonies, which is incredible. This is a lot of stories that have never been preserved.
Yeah. So.
I think Spielberg wanted to do this film specifically because there was a resurgence of neo-Nazis at the time in the 80s and 90s, and he wanted to be like, never again. Let's remind people what this is really like. There's weird Holocaust deniers and stuff like that. So
yeah,
you got to tell the story.
Yeah, I know it's just crazy to think about now times, and how people are reacting now. But again, let's not diverge too much.
I want to say one more thing. I wanted to say, I kind of struggled between another Holocaust movie. This is so hard. It's kind of like slavery movies. It's kind of like, how many times do we have to?
Yeah, when you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all.
Right, but then it's no, there's still crazy people that exist that think that this stuff didn't happen or it wasn't that bad. So it's a fine line to tread.
Yeah.
But let's get back into the actual movie.
Yeah. Real quick, I don't know, I can't really see the camera real well, but the newest member of our family, our little corgi puppy down here named Captain.
It's her first episode.
It's her first episode, where she's in.
She's 6 months old. We just got her about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, so if you see her playing around with a blanket tassel, that's who that is.
She's probably wreaking havoc.
Yes, Captain Calamity.
That's her little nickname.
Yeah. But alright, let's get into the awards here.
I'll let you take over.
Thank you. Yeah, I love talking about these awards. I don't know why. But so the 66th Academy Awards, which were showcased in 1994, it was nominated for 12 Oscars and won 7 of them.
I believe that's the most from the ones we've seen so far.
Yes.
How many was Lord of the Rings nominated for?
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, I believe, won 11 or 12 Academy Awards.
Oh, so it was nominated for more than 12.
I think it won everything it was nominated for, actually.
Oh.
I mean, we'll get to that. Lord of the Rings series is actually
we'll have
our
a little
movie.
exclaimer here.
Yeah. But yeah. But let's get into these awards. It won Best Picture. It was up against The Fugitive, In the Name of the Father, The Piano, The Remains of the Day.
I don't know any of those except Fugitive.
Yeah, I've heard of The Piano and In the Name of the Father. I've only seen The Fugitive. So it doesn't look like, I mean, granted, I haven't seen a lot of these movies, but it doesn't seem like the competition was too prevalent, seeing how we haven't even heard about some of them.
I thought Jurassic Park came out the same year as Schindler's List, 93.
I believe so, but I don't believe it was nominated for Best Picture.
Okay.
So,
Valid. I mean, not valid, but...
yeah. Which, random, Jurassic Park is not on the IMDb Top 100, which I am very shocked about.
Incredible.
Yeah, but maybe we can do an episode after this list with Jurassic
we'll do
Park
like
in it.
our favorites.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Let's see. It won Best Director by Steven Spielberg.
Valid.
You know, I'll save that till trivia time.
Sure.
Let's see, what else did it win? Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Score, and who was written by John Williams, the magnificent, amazing John Williams.
I love his stuff.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything he's done that I haven't loved. Let's see, Best Film Editing, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction. Those were the 7 that the Schindler's List won.
Not too shabby, 7.
And then nominated was Best Actor with Liam Neeson. Tom Hanks won in the movie Philadelphia. And then we have, I'm sorry, did you want to say something? No. Then we have Best Supporting Actor. Ralph Fiennes was nominated. But Tommy Lee Jones won in The Fugitive.
I think Ralph Fiennes should have won.
Yes.
I loved his acting.
Yes, he was
Much
phenomenal.
better than Liam Neeson.
Oh yeah,
Personally.
he was the best actor in the
He
movie.
had a lot of like screen charisma. He just like stole the show.
Mhm.
He played Nazi Amon Goth.
Yes, the Commandant, Air Commandant.
Yes.
Let's see here. And then Best Makeup, Best Sound, and Best Costume Design were all nominated.
They did really good with the makeup. A lot of the ghetto populace,
Mhm.
you know, the emaciated and weak.
Yeah.
They did a good job. Very believable.
You know, just personally, I think I brought this up before in a previous episode, but I'm never the biggest fan of Best Costume Design when it's just like a set in a certain time period.
Where it's just
and it's just like
literally
historical.
following.
Yeah, just have them wear the clothes that they actually wore back at that time, you know? Again, that's just my personal
Maybe
opinion.
for the officers, but like, you know, the ghetto people still have to have a certain look without having official uniforms.
Yeah, I guess, but you know what I mean though in general.
I understand.
That's just me.
It's like if you do a prison movie and everyone of the prisoners
are wearing orange jumpsuits.
and they get nominated for best costume design.
Yeah. Granted, I understand there's a lot more that goes into best costume design. But yeah, that's just a little thing about me. But yeah, did you want to say anything else about the awards?
No.
All right.
I agree, cinematography was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go into that further.
Yeah, I believe this is the movie with the most won out of our past 7 episodes. Yeah, with 7.
And if we're wrong, let there be a blurb.
Yes. Again, we are not perfect. We messed up way more than we probably should be as podcasters. Here we go.
We're learning. We're 7 out of 100, 7% of the way.
Yeah. And then, like I said, hopefully we'll be doing more after the 100.
Yeah. We just saw Everything Everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
We have thoughts.
Yeah. But again, not trying to diverge too much. Before we get on with the rest, I would like to give a special thanks to our sponsor, Bakery Park. It is a small bakery and locally in the Schaumburg area of Illinois, so northwest or like western suburbs. If anyone is interested in any type of mainly pies, but she'd also, my wife Maral, she is in charge of the bakery. She also does a few other things and is willing to take requests.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I promise next time there will be cupcakes that we'll be eating for
Yes.
the whole cupcakes portion.
Yes. Yeah. So. make sure to check her out. In my honest opinion, best baked goods I've ever had in my life. And I am
John
a very
is a critic.
picky person when it comes to what I consider the best. So, if you haven't been able to tell by now with these 7 episodes, but yeah.
Alright, let's get into spoiler territory. If you have not seen Schindler's List and you do not want to be spoiled, pause or remove yourself from the stream so you can go watch it. It is a 3-hour, 10-minute film? Do you know the runtime?
I could look that up on my tablet.
It's definitely longer than 3 hours. It's a long movie, but like I said, worth it. It's a good film by itself. It's also historically relevant, important in terms of humanity, I guess, and history. Historically relevant. You should watch it for those reasons. I'm stalling while John looks for the runtime.
Yeah, for some reason IMDb wants to know my location. And secondly, every time I try to swipe IMDb, different words keep coming up. Or swiping Schindler, different words keep coming up.
What information do they need?
I have no idea. 3 hours and 15 minutes long.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah.
Alright, so it's a long film, but it's worth it. Go and give it a watch.
Keep in mind it is rated R, so.
Yeah, there's
Again,
nudity,
nudity, murder,
violence,
just, yeah, again, a lot of trigger warning, just.
crimes against humanity.
Yeah, keep in mind it's a movie about the Holocaust.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's our warning to you.
Alright, here we go into spoilers.
Yeah.
Do you want me to start?
Do you want to start? I'm willing if you don't want to. Alright, you know what? I'll go first. Granted, I feel like I've been talking most of the podcast, but so the movie starts in color, and it goes to black and white, and it's black and white pretty much till the end of the movie, until the very end, last scene.
I think it's important to mention it starts with modern day, like they're lighting Jewish candles, and then it fades into black and white once it goes back in time.
Yeah. Yeah, good catch. I forgot to add that. Spielberg said that it was to give it more of a documentary, more documentary-like feeling, like other documentaries based on that time. He wanted to make it feel as real as possible. I honestly think a big reason was just for the little girl in the red coat. What stick out when we see her at first, and then when she's dead on the wagon or whatever she's on.
You have to explain.
So in the movie, Oscar Schindler, he's looking through the ghetto and he sees this little Jewish girl, in a red coat, and the red is the only thing that's colored.
In the whole film.
In the whole film, minus the beginning and the very end. And, obviously that catches everyone's eye. And later in this movie, we see the dead girl on a wagon, or just being dragged away on a cart or a wagon. She died. They don't show her dying, but Oscar Schindler sees her again and recognizes her.
And they have her little coat still red.
Oh yeah, and her coat's still red, so she pops out. And part of me really thinks that big reason why it's in black and white was so that that red coat would be super significant and everyone would notice. Let's be honest, if you saw just an arm sticking out of a wagon and the coat, you would have never known that was her.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something he really wanted to do. It feels a little ham-fisted.
Yes.
Me,
Yes.
It's like, we get it. Loss of innocence,
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason. There's a story to it. Do you want to go?
Yeah. Let's go with that with the trivia.
Sure.
Also, the cover or the main poster, the cover on like the DVDs and whatnot. You see you see two hands holding. It is.
One is an adult.
Yeah, and one is a child, and that's supposed to be Oscar Schindler's hand and the little girl in the red coat's hand, holding hands together.
Even though they never did that.
Yeah, they never did that in the movie, but that's what that image is from. All right.
Yeah, like I said, I just thought the black and white was a little ham-fisted. It looked aesthetically great because it's like super high contrast, very visually pleasing, very crisp. There's always like the obvious go-to of like the black and white of right and wrong, you know, evil and good. But it's fine. I don't hate it. It's fine.
Yeah, you know, the cinematography, as you said, you know, if you want to talk about that, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, cinematography was great. Really, the only time I looked a little bit into it. Apparently, 90% of the film was filmed by hand using Steadicam. There's really only one portion of the film where the cinematography I had an issue with, and that was at the very beginning when they're introducing Oscar Schindler. And he is this like really tall guy. He's like 6 foot something. Very charismatic person. Everyone likes him. Big party guy. So he's spiffing up, getting ready to go to a party, and he's walking down the hall. And I guess they decided to use Steadicam for most of the film, but not this part of the film. And specifically, they shot it like really high up, so as to show like Schindler's point of view. This tall, massive man. And so they had the camera really up high, and it was just shaking because they were holding it up. And I was just like, why? It was just a strange choice to do almost all of the film in Steadicam, but not that portion. But that's the only problem I had with the cinematography. Otherwise, I thought it was great. One scene whose cinematography I really like is there's a Jewish woman who was an engineer or an architect, something, I believe an engineer. And she's like, stop the construction. This building is going to collapse. We laid the foundation down wrong. And she's, you know, ordering Nazis, officers around. And they're like, what's wrong with the construction? And she explains it to them, right? And Amon Goth, the air commandant, takes a look at the foundation, kind of nods, and then he orders her execution, right? And it like, and she like comes towards the camera in a very natural way, where it just kind of feels documentary time, where the camera is steady and she like comes into it really close, and there's like the fear of her life in her eyes, and then like sudden acceptance, and then like she gets pulled away, and then just like the way that it's just set still watching this unfold, and then she gets shot in the back of the film, back of the scene. It just very good. I just really liked it a lot.
Yeah, that scene was really well done. You know, it really kind of showed the, I don't know how to word it, like brutality, but as well as the intelligence, I don't know how to say it, of the Nazis when they killed that woman. Not only, you know, after they kill that woman, you know, they don't continue the construction. He orders everyone, okay, rebuild it, redo it, right?
Yeah. She was right.
Yeah, she was right, and you know, he knew she was right. But you know, again,
they couldn't let her live.
Yeah, they couldn't let her live. You know, again, that brutality, but also that, you know, Nazis weren't stupid people. You know, they were very intelligent. You know, very, you know, understood things, and you know, they were people too. Unfortunately, you know, not saying Nazis are good by any means. You know, fuck the Nazis. But you know, it really kind of showed, you know, that little other side of the Nazis. You know, which is something else I really appreciate about this movie. You know, later on in the film, you know, the commandant Ralphie is, you know, in love with his Jewish slave girl that he has, and he wants to run away with her, but he knows he can't. Granted, he's like rapes her throughout the film, and you know, yada yada. But you know, we will get into that a little bit later.
Another thing about the cinematography that I really liked, I like how they do a lot of parallel shots and the way they edit that. For example, towards the beginning, when Oscar Schindler is moving into his apartment, they do like a back and forth shot where he's moving in to his luxurious high grade, very expensive apartment, fully furnished. At the same time, the Jewish family that was living there is being removed, forcibly removed from that same apartment, and being sent to the ghetto.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're doing this back and forth, and at the end, you know, Schindler goes, "Would you stop? Can't you find a quiet toy?" At the end, Schindler goes, "It doesn't get better than this." And
something to chew on.
thank you. And at the same time, it flashes back to the Jewish family, and the husband looks over to the wife, and the wife looks miserable, and the husband tries to cheer her up, and he goes, "Well, at least it can't get worse than this." And she's like, "How could it possibly get worse?" And then the screen turns over, and there's like another family joining them in the tiny room that they're already living in and already way too cramped for. And so I really like the parallels that they do. There's another part where they parallel and they do a lot of split shots between Schindler's birthday, where he's having a big party celebration. There's like a singer, they have all the Nazis partying, really having a big blowout. Everyone's drunk and having a great time. And Amon Goth is in the basement of his house talking to Helen, his live-in slave / maid. And he's like in love with her. He's like postulating a world where they could live together. And then he realizes like his folly, and he realizes like it's never gonna happen, it's never gonna exist, and he realizes he's in love with a lesser than Jew, lesser than human person. And so like there's a lot of like instances of like celebration and violence where he's violating Helen in the basement, and it's kind of super symbolic to the Nazi party, right? Because there's so many Nazis that had no idea what was happening in World War II. So it kind of like parallels like the celebration, them having this great time, thinking that they're bringing on the Third Reich, and at the same time, there's this hidden layer of violence to the Jewish population, which I thought was pretty good. I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of with a lot of the parallels and just showing contrast and similarities.
It gives a lot of tension when they're like cutting scenes back and forth a lot. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and something going off of that, something I really loved about the movie and like the editing and all that was they did an amazing job of just mixing the chaotic and normalcy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
A scene that brings to mind is in the in the camp, they have like this medical check scene. Basically everyone's naked. They're doing it's just people running around. Trying to get this medical check done on the super dehumanizing. But they're having like cheery music playing. Over those loudspeakers, and the idea of like this very like normal, almost like upbeat music during this super chaotic thing that's going on right now. It's just like it was just like, oh, it's a working day, the Nazis were like, oh, it's just a working medical check day.
Yeah, and they all have their little clipboards and their little tables set up.
And the naked Jewish people are just running everywhere, just trying to get where they're supposed to go during this medical check.
Trying to stay alive, let's be honest.
But kind of deviating a little bit away from what I loved about this movie. There were some things I didn't like about it. Like starting when the women, Oscar Schindler's women. So the reason why the movie is called Schindler's List is because by the end of the movie, he has specifically a list of about what is 1,200 names?
Yeah, I believe 12.
Of 1,200 names of Jewish people that he's plans to save, or who that he can save.
They called them Schindler's Jews.
Yeah, Schindler's List. Yeah, that's his list, right? Schindler's Jews. And one of the groups of women accidentally gets shipped off to Auschwitz, right? But starting that moment and the rest of the movie, I just felt it dragging on and on.
It did lose a lot of its pace.
Yeah.
Because it was like the storyline was just going one place, and then it was like, gotta
Yeah.
save the women.
Yeah, and as I was watching the movie, I was just thinking in the back of my mind, like, look, I know these women are gonna get saved, so all this tension is just for nothing, and just like I said, that whole scene, just everything after that.
Do you know if that actually happened? Do you know if his shipment of humans actually accidentally went to Auschwitz?
You know what? I'm not sure. You'd have to look into that.
I feel like it could have just been something to be more dramatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, honestly, even if that did happen, they could have cut that scene out, and like from then on and the rest, and like in the end of the movie, they're talking about Oscar Schindler's Jewish people and what happened to them afterwards. There's like 6,000 of them now that have come from those small group of Jewish people that are reproduced. Back in '93, and they have like all the survivors come to Oscar Schindler's grave, and they're like and there's like a bunch of them. They're putting like rocks on his grave, and I was just sitting there thinking, okay, if every single one of those guys puts a rock on his grave, there's not enough space on his grave for all those rocks.
All those 6,000
Yeah.
rocks. Not to mention the actors also put a rock on, so that's more than 6,000.
So I was just like, why? I mean, like,
Why is this part of the film?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, realistically, they could have just put words up about talking about what happened to them. Like, they didn't have to show them at the grave, and
It was a good extra 5 minutes added to the film.
yeah.
Of just all of the characters in the film and the historic characters coming and putting rocks on the grave. Actually, fun fact, speaking of the grave, Oscar Schindler is the only Nazi to be invited to be buried in Jerusalem. So he's buried on Mount Sinai in Jerusalem.
That's interesting, because, not in the sense that, like...
Because he was officially in the Nazi party.
Yeah, but, I mean, granted, I don't know, I haven't done research on this, but you'd think there'd be at least one other Nazi that, try to help Jewish people.
Apparently not.
And, well, granted, maybe they didn't save as many as 1,200, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyways, something else that really just bothered me in this film is, it's the end of the war, or war's coming to an end, and Oscar is talking to all of his Jewish people that he saved, and they're talking about and Oscar Schindler like, hey, let's have 3 minutes of silence, just to observe what happened for all the people that all the victims and everything. As soon as those 3 minutes start, the rabbi starts talking throughout the entire 3 minutes, right? And like, I understand what the rabbi is doing, but Oscar Schindler literally, let's have 3 minutes of quiet. And then the rabbi just starts talking through the whole 3 minutes. And I was like, why did they not plan this better?
Like, they could have even said, let's have a moment of silence, paused, and then let the rabbi speak. But they said specifically 3 minutes.
Or even like, just like Oscar Schindler could have gone up to the rabbi, because he knew he was a rabbi. Talk about them not working on the Sabbath and stuff. He could have gone up to the rabbi, or invited the rabbi up to the front, and like, Rabbi, would you like to say a few words or something, It
is just a silly...
Yeah, I was like, what?
It's minor, but it bothers
Yeah.
someone like John. And a little bit myself, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Let's see. What other kind of like pitfalls or downfalls? in the beginning of the movie, you know, they have words across the screen kind of describing what's happening and whatnot. I mean, this is a really small issue, but those words are kind of hard to read. You'd think, you know, because we watched it on DVD, you'd think they would have cleaned that up over time.
Or at least made it like high contrast.
Something, yeah, they're just hard to read.
For future editors out there, if you want to make your words white and give it a black outline, that would be the best.
And not super thick, if that makes sense. The letters are also really thick,
Oh, yeah.
which also kind of made it hard to read. And let's see, just a couple other minor things. Overall, the movie was great. Like, these are, for the most part, pretty
These are minor
things.
little things.
So I would like to, you know, remind everyone of that. Like I said, great film. You know, I give it an A-.
Oh, are we talking Pitfalls? Are you done? Go ahead.
I have a couple other things.
Go for it. And then I'll talk about mine personally.
Yeah, another thing for me, sorry I'm kind of taking over this podcast. You know, a plot hole was when Schindler goes over to the Commandant's house, right? And, you know, they're just chatting and yada yada. And then for some reason, Oscar Schindler just leaves, even though it's just a two people conversation. He's kind of like...
He just walks out?
He basically just ups and walks out, right? And he goes to the basement to talk to Helen, right? And, you know, obviously, you know, he's talking to Helen, you know, about, you know, yada yada. But he had no reason.
No. He said he was getting wine from the basement or something like that.
Was that it?
Yeah. He said he was gonna get some more wine.
Oh, okay. Well, even if that was it, he was gone for so long.
But he was gone for way longer.
He was talking to Helen.
Like a suspicious amount of time.
Yes, for a suspicious amount of time. And you don't think the Commandant would have been like, yo, what's taking so long?
Yeah,
or something?
Absolutely.
You know?
Not only that, he's like asking her, like, how does he treat you? Like, are you doing okay?
Yeah, he's asking her like a crap ton of questions, and like I said, it's a really long scene.
Yeah.
It's taking forever. But yeah,
I agree.
yeah. Sorry, and alright, now you can bring up other plot holes or things
It's
that
not
you had.
necessarily a plot hole, it's just like my not liking this Holocaust film as much as Life is Beautiful, which we should also be watching.
No, that's on the list. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's what I mean. Then we should also be watching.
Is it a spoiler?
No,
Okay.
it's not a spoiler. Is that this is obviously the perspective of a Nazi, right? And so it's kind of weird to just be like, oh, this is a defining Holocaust film. Number one, it's about a Nazi, you know, and his emotional growth story of like, Nazi is bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to justify, like, it's a good film, but at the same time, it's like, do we want to make this the film? You know, it's about his emotional growth story to be like, wow, what am I doing? I need to save these people. Being a Nazi is bad. Oh, she farted.
How about the dog?
The puppy. Whereas, like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine, like, if we made a slave movie about the slave master realizing that slavery is wrong. Like, that would be... And then we were like, this is the slavery movie, guys. This is the one you're gonna watch if you're gonna watch it. It's just like, mentally, like, it's difficult to... So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, that this isn't the experience. This is not the only experience. This is obviously not a story about a Jewish person experiencing the Holocaust. Which, by the way, we forgot to mention, Steven Spielberg is Jewish.
Oh, right.
Obviously, this was very personal to him. He did not have any family members that we know of pass away in the Holocaust, but, you know, this is still his people's history, and so it was a personal story. So it's kind of...
There's a fun trivia fact, but then we'll get into that later, but yeah, just...
Yeah, just that's my only gripe with it, is like, what perspective are we choosing to elevate to be the defining story.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my whole 2 cents. Life is Beautiful is actually about people who were, even though it's a fictional story, it's still about the actual experience of people who went through it, as opposed to a Nazi. So that's it.
Alright. Next on our list, let's talk about the acting of the movie. The different actors and actresses.
Yeah, like I said, Ralph Fiennes, Amon Goth, being a bad guy is like one of those characters who's like, he's so awful that you realize how good of an actor he is because you hate him.
Yeah.
Like the Baratheon.
Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Like, he was such a good actor that you hated him.
Yeah, I think an actor's greatest ability of acting is whether or not they can be hated. Play like a role that's hated well.
Yeah.
Right, like Joffrey, the actor, I forget his name. But that actor did a phenomenal job. Everyone hated that motherfucker. God, I hated him. I wanted to punch him in the face so bad.
Was Ralph Fiennes also in Silence of the Lambs? No. Who's Buffalo Bill?
Oh, that's not Ralph Fiennes. Buffalo Bill is, one moment, please.
Pulling up IMDb.
Yeah.
But there's other things that Ralph Fiennes is incredibly good in. So he's just a great actor overall. I think he's probably the best performance in the film. The woman who plays Helen was also incredible because she just like exuded the fear that this poor woman had to go through. There's a point where Amon, like I said, is postulating running away with her because he's so in love with her, and she's just like shivering with fear, and she doesn't know, like, it's one of those situations, when you're getting yelled at and you don't know, like, if you should look at the person or if you should look down. And so her eyes are darting, she doesn't know where to go, she's shivering, she's so small and frail and thin and scared.
Baron, stop that.
Baron. And scared, and she does an incredible job acting. There's something there. And then Liam Neeson did a decent job. What did you think, John?
Liam Neeson did okay. Very solid for the most part.
Not great, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, he just played just like the rich dude who's kind of sympathetic. And then I will say, despite it being like the most iconic scene in the movie. Shh. Sorry, there are fireworks going off in the area.
It is the 3rd.
It is the 3rd of July. But yeah, the most iconic scene in the movie, where he's talking at the end, he's talking about, I could have gotten more out. Wow, talk about overacting.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
So basically, he has his list of about 1,200 Jewish people that he saved. And that's after he liquidated most of his assets, and he used each of those, all that money that he had liquidated to bribe Nazi officers into allowing him to add more personnel to his staff, and each of those staff members were then no longer going to be sent to the concentration camps where they were most likely going to die. And so this list is what saves these people. And so towards the end, he's trying to, the war had ended and Nazis were trying to leave. And Nazis were trying to run away. And so he realizes if he doesn't leave, he's going to get arrested. And so he's about to leave with his wife in their nice car, and he's like pulling his ring off. He's like, how many Jews would I have saved with this ring? How many Jews would I have saved with this watch, with this car? And he's just like crying. And it's a bit of overacting, definitely.
Yeah, but another phenomenal performance was by Helen, the Jewish slave girl.
Said that right.
Oh, sorry. I was busy looking at. Ted Levine plays Buffalo Bill.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted looking that up.
That's okay.
They had his name under Jane Gump, or Gum, which is his name in the movie.
Oh, and you
so
were
I was looking for Buffalo Bill. Where's Buffalo Bill? So, yeah, sorry that took me so long. But yeah, those are the main actors. The accountant, he did all right.
Yeah, that's the guy who plays Gandhi in the Gandhi film. What's his name? I know it.
I'm just gonna look this up. Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley, yes.
Ben Kingsley did a solid job. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the acting. Like I said, a very solid acting throughout. A few couple, stars really, shined. But yeah, overall, very solid acting. Is there anything else we really wanted to say? There's not much more to say. Like I said, the sound editing was good. The editing itself overall was pretty good. The acting.
I think all we got left is trivia and quotes.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Would you want to start off with trivia, or?
Yeah. One trivia was that Steven Spielberg was invited. Well, the studio bought the rights to the film, and they asked Steven Spielberg to direct it, and he didn't feel like he was good enough, so he actually waited a decade till stop. He waited a decade to polish up Captain, to polish up his skills, and also not only that, he asked Roman Polanski to direct it, because actually Roman Polanski's mother, I don't know if you knew this, was killed in the Holocaust. And he said no, he didn't want to do it. Now he's wanted for child molestation, so maybe it's good that he did it. And then he asked a few other Jewish directors, and then he was like, you know what? I'll do it myself. And so he ended up finally doing it.
Yeah. And, next trivia is John Williams.
Composer.
The composer. He actually had a similar experience when he was originally. So Steven Spielberg showed a part of the movie to John Williams and asked him if he could, compose the score. Williams was actually said to him, "You need a better composer." He truly believed he wasn't good enough. And then Spielberg replied, "I know, but they're all dead."
I wonder who he was referring to.
I don't know. Maybe he was talking about some famous classical composers like Mozart or something. But yeah, so John Williams also didn't believe he was good enough to compose for this film because of how, just how powerful and of a movie it was. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna steal an extra piece of trivia.
This one's all you.
So we're gonna go back to the little girl in the red coat, and that was actually came from a story from the amazing, lovely Audrey Hepburn.
His number one.
My number one
waifu.
My number one human waifu. I mean, real life person
That's why I said
waifu.
Human.
I mean, other waifus are human.
I guess, but they're like anime.
But anyways, let's not diverge too much. So Audrey Hepburn told Steven Spielberg this story while they were filming her final movie, Always, which was 1989. She told him of I'm just gonna read this. She told him of an incident during World War II where she was a little girl with the same attire while the other people were loaded she saw a little girl with the same attire while the other people were loaded onto trains. That moment was forever etched in her memory, and it struck Spielberg when he made this film. Yeah, so something Audrey Hepburn actually witnessed during World War II.
I believe she was in Austria.
Yes, Austria.
Yes.
And she was a child, and she did what she could to fight against the Nazis.
Bless her
she
soul.
would help deliver messages and stuff.
And she was strictly humanitarian all throughout her life. She was a wonderful person.
Yeah, she was the spokesperson for UNICEF. And yeah, but anyways,
yeah, like we said, Steven Spielberg didn't take any money from this film, and also something that he did because he knew that this film was important in terms of reminding society what happened and not to let people forget. He actually would release cassettes of the film to high schools all throughout America for free, so that children could watch it and grow up knowing what happened. So that was another little tidbit.
Yeah.
All right, quotes.
Yeah. Let's get on to these quotes here. Would you like to start, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I love this quote. So, Schindler is talking to the commandant Amon Goth, who is a ruthless man, right? Will kill anyone for any reason. And he's kind of playing him, right? Because he knows that Amon respects Schindler in a specific way. And so he goes, here's a quote: "Power is when we have every justification to kill, and we don't." And the commandant
Here,
says,
want me to be the commandant?
Sure.
Alright, here, start over.
"Power is when we have every justification to kill, and we don't."
You think that's power?
That's what the emperor said. A man stole something, he bought in, and he's brought in before the emperor. He throws himself down to the ground and begs for his life. He knows he's going to die, and the emperor pardons him. This worthless man, he lets him go.
Yeah,
That's the whole quote.
that's the quote.
And so later on in the film, Amon Goth really took that to heart, I guess, like true power. What is true power? And so they bring someone over who made a mistake. What was it? Shh. I don't remember what it was, but Amon Goth, the commandant, goes, "I pardon you." I pardon you. And he's like really proud of himself. And yeah, you know, one more life saved. Who knows if that's a real story or not, but I found that whole interaction.
Does he change his mind and kill him?
Does he?
I don't remember.
I don't
See,
think
we
so.
can't watch a movie and not do the podcast like months
True,
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember him killing him after that.
Shh.
Alright, this next quote is by the accountant, Isaac Stern. He is talking about
The list.
the list, right? And then he says, it's Hebrew. It's from the Talmud. It says, whoever saves one life saves the world entire.
I've heard that quote other times, but it's probably the first time I heard the quote. That was great.
And then another quote from him. He is talking about the list this time. He says, this list is an absolute good. The list is life. All around its margins lies the gulf. Right? He's talking about the list that they wrote down with the 1,200 names that they saved. Just a very iconic quote. Yeah.
Oscar Schindler is another quote. It goes, Stern's accountant. "If this factory ever produces a shell that can actually be fired, I'll be very unhappy." And that's because they went from making pots to making weapons ammunition, and they specifically made artillery that did not shoot and was not good, and he lost a lot of money doing that. But like I said, it's his moral journey. He realized.
And then we got a couple more from Oscar Schindler. My father was fond of saying three things in life: a good doctor, a forgiving priest, and a clever accountant. The first two I've never had much use for. Yeah, I agree. Those are probably three things you really do need in life. A good doctor, a forgiving priest, and a clever accountant.
All of which your dad needs.
Yo, Lord, that ain't... That ain't true. Oof.
Bless him. He needs the best doctor in the world.
Mhm.
Honestly, tack on a really good lawyer to that list of 3. But anyway, let's move on to the last quote.
Yeah.
Oscar Schindler says, I could have got more out. I could have got more. I don't know. I could have got more. And so that's the end when he's, breaking down, talking about his list, not feeling like he'd done enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the quote. Go out and do some good in the world after watching a rough movie like that.
Yeah. Like you said, very iconic, Oscar Schindler, very, very just crazy just thinking about the story and as a whole. But
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's problematic to do the story about a Nazi, but at the same time, it's kind of like, it reminds you that anyone can be, like, you can be a bad person, you can be a part of a bad group of people, but you could still have a moral compass, you can be the change in the world.
just because you're a bad guy doesn't make you a bad guy.
That is a quote from Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
I think Satan says, no.
No, it's
the Russian-
Zangief, the Russian wrestler from Street Fighter.
That's right. All right. Well, this has been Cupcakes and Hot Takes with John and Maral. Thank you for joining us after our long hiatus. We will be back with regular podcasts henceforth.
Yes, and our next movie will actually be Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
And we will be doing the trilogy, so we'll start with Fellowship, and we'll do 3 whole episodes dedicated to Lord of the Rings.
Beautiful. Beautiful thing. But,
All right, we'll be back on the 10th of July.
Yeah, 7 days. Hopefully we can keep that schedule.
We will try our best.
Don't forget to like and subscribe our videos. Share our videos with anyone you think would be interested in our opinions or just wanting to see and hear our little corgi barking. There's the fireworks going around, and then of course,
It won't be like this next episode. We hope.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been Cupcakes and Hot Takes with Maral and John. That's Maral.
That's John.
Alright. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.